All right, let's get real for a second. If you've ever tried to learn DevOps, you've probably felt like you're staring at this giant, tangled map with 1,000 different roads and, honestly, no clear destination. You see these job descriptions asking for 5 years of experience in a tool that came out, 3 years ago? It's confusing, it's overwhelming, and yeah, it can feel totally impossible. But what if I told you it really doesn't have to be?
You start looking around and you see this endless list of tools, right? Docker, Kubernetes, Jenkins, Ansible, Terraform, Prometheus. The list just goes on and on and on. And every single tutorial seems to pull you in a completely different direction. It is a total jungle of buzzwords, and it's so easy to get lost.
So if you're feeling that way, I really want you to hear this. It is not your fault. You are not bad at learning. The problem isn't you at all. It's how DevOps is usually presented. So in this explainer, we are going to cut through all that noise and figure out why it feels so dang hard. So let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Why does it feel like you're trying to drink from a fire hose? Well, that feeling of being completely overwhelmed, it's not just in your head. It's caused by a few very real things happening in the industry. And once you see them, you can finally start to navigate around them. First up, the tool overload is a real monster. It seriously feels like every single day there's some new, shiny tool that you just have to learn. Then there's no official roadmap, right? Unlike other fields, there's no single agreed-upon path. It's like being told to climb Mount Everest with no map. Then you've got those job postings. They paint this picture of a DevOps unicorn who's somehow mastered 20 different tools from day one. And finally, there's this huge gap between the hype, automate everything, and the reality of what most companies actually need. Okay, so enough about the problem. Let's talk about the solution. The absolute key to breaking free from all this confusion is to understand what DevOps actually is. And trust me, it's way simpler and much more about people than you probably think. This is the big aha moment. This slide really shows the problem that DevOps was born to solve. I remember back in the day, developers would finish writing their code and then just kind of throw it over this wall of confusion to the operations team. And when things broke, it was all finger-pointing and blame games. This whole process just created massive bottlenecks and super slow releases. DevOps isn't about a tool. It's about tearing down that wall so these teams can actually talk and collaborate. So here's the most crucial point. DevOps is not a job title. It's a culture. It's a mindset that's all about collaboration and communication, and it's just supported by automation. It's about creating this smooth, continuous flow from a simple idea all the way to the end user, and then getting feedback to start that whole cycle over again. If you remember one single thing from this entire explainer, please let it be this simple formula. DevOps is culture plus automation. The culture of collaboration has to come first, and the tools, well, they're just there to automate the processes that help that culture thrive. When you see it like this, that whole jungle of tools starts to look a lot less scary. Okay, I get it. The philosophy is cool, but you still need to learn the tools. So how do you actually do it without getting completely lost? You need a plan. You need a roadmap. And this is the exact roadmap I recommend to cut through all the noise and build your skills in a way that actually makes sense. And here it is, your 6-step journey from DevOps novice to pro. Take a good look. We start with a solid foundation. Then we learn how to work together and automate things. After that, we build our stuff in the cloud, package it all up in containers, automate its delivery, and finally, we learn how to watch over it and make sure it's healthy. Now, let's break each one of these down. First things first, you absolutely have to master the basics. I mean it. Most servers in the world run on Linux, so you've got to be comfortable in the command line. You also need to understand core networking, things like IP addresses, DNS, firewalls, because that's how everything talks to each other. This is the non-negotiable backbone of everything else. Next up, we learn how to collaborate and automate. Git is basically the universal language for tracking code changes and working with a team without stepping on each other's toes. And a scripting language like Python? That's your superpower. It's what you'll use to write all the little scripts that make DevOps possible. Now we move into the cloud. And listen, I've seen so many people try to learn AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud all at once. That is a classic mistake, and it leads straight to burnout. Just pick one. I'd recommend AWS because it's the market leader, and go deep. Then learn Terraform. This tool lets you manage your entire infrastructure as code, which is a total game changer for consistency. Okay, this is where things get really powerful. Docker lets you package an application and all its little dependencies into a neat little box called a container. That way, it runs the same absolutely everywhere. But what happens when you have hundreds of these containers? You need a way to manage them all. That's Kubernetes. Think of it as the conductor of your container orchestra.
So how do we automate getting our code from a developer's computer into the real world? That's continuous integration and continuous deployment, or CI/CD. A tool like Jenkins will automate the building, testing, and deploying of your code. And something like Ansible will automate how your servers are set up, making sure every single one is configured exactly the same way. And finally, once your application is up and running, your job isn't done, not even close. You need to watch it. This is where monitoring comes in. Tools like Prometheus collect all sorts of metrics on how your app is doing, and Grafana builds these beautiful dashboards so you can actually see that data and spot problems before your users ever do. And that's it. That's the roadmap. If this clear path through the DevOps jungle is helping you out, do me a quick favor and just tap that like button. It really helps the channel out. And stick around, because now we're going to talk about the most important part of all, your mindset.
So you've got the roadmap, but that's really only half the battle. Knowing the tools is one thing, but approaching this whole learning process with the right mindset, that's what's actually going to determine if you succeed or just burn out. This part is just as critical as any tool. And this quote is just pure gold. There's this massive pressure to automate absolutely everything from day one. But the reality is, you should only add automation when and where you actually need it. Think about it. You wouldn't build a 6-lane highway for a small town that only has 100 cars, right? You start with a simple road and you add more lanes as the traffic grows. A brand new startup just doesn't need the same complex pipeline as Netflix. Start simple. And here are 4 crucial rules to live by. First, avoid tutorial hell. Watching videos feels productive, but it's passive. You have to build things. Apply what you learn in a small project of your own. Second, one thing at a time. Seriously, master Docker before you even think about touching Kubernetes. Third, always prioritize the concept over the tool. Understand why you need container orchestration before you just memorize a bunch of Kubernetes commands. The tools will change, but the concepts, they're timeless. And finally, stay curious. This field is always evolving, and so should you. So, let's bring this all home. That path that seemed impossibly confusing just a few minutes ago, it should be looking a lot more clear and, frankly, a lot more achievable now. You have the real definition, you have the step-by-step roadmap, and you've got the mindset for success. Remember, DevOps is a journey of continuous improvement. It's not some checklist of tools you learn once and then you're done. Focus on the core principles, collaboration and automation. Follow the roadmap we laid out, one step at a time, and most importantly, be patient with yourself and just keep building. And that brings us to the end. I want to leave you with a question to get you started. Look back at that roadmap, pick a step, and think about a small project you could build. Maybe it's a simple Python script, or maybe you could containerize a small web app with Docker. Let me know down in the comments, what's the very first project you're going to build? Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this brought some serious clarity to your DevOps journey. If it did, make sure you're subscribed for more explainers that cut right through the noise. Now go out there and start building. You've got this.